And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Get the Mic, the show where your hosts, on the left, Owl,
And on the right, Brock.
dissect fiction for its mythological meaning. In this episode, we're talking about Dragon Ball as usual, and in particular, we are discussing the monster Buyon, who is near the top of Muscle Tower in General White's hierarchy of thuggery. We don't really have any special announcements to include, so we'll go ahead and get right into the episode. The first thing we see is this recap, and we kind of do see it every episode, but it does set the context and allows Brock and I to see, what's happened before, just reminding us. So in the last episode, we saw Goku and Ader travel through the fourth floor maze, between the fourth and fifth floor maze.
Right. It was the game that General White had set up for them where he was essentially going to stop their progress by keeping them trapped in a game.
And to mention Ha-chan, who's also known as Ader or Android 8. Those are all
Mhm.
names for him. He was freed by Murasaki, who Goku defeated after Murasaki really disintegrated himself into 5 different people, basically. Before that, Goku defeated the instantiation of Blind Muscle with Major Metallotron, and before that, he got into Muscle Tower. So, this is what all Goku's been through, and the game, particularly, I believe that Brock was talking about, that General White was playing, was that amorphous path, that amorphous spirit one can adopt if one has that pathology, let's say, and how that can block people who are truly trying to seek the truth from ever being able to get there in the first place.
Yeah, it's someone's ability to sort of blind somebody to their contradictions by framing things in a way that they can't hold in their mind consecutively, right? It's being manipulative because you're sort of tricking somebody to believe things that don't actually agree with each other. And so I think that's sort of symbolically what's happening. And here, Ader, being sort of a ghost in the machine, is able to guide Goku through that because he is, let's say, reflective, right? He understands this space because he is sort of the machine itself. The machine being the tower and sort of the construct that General White has set up, right?
It's interesting you say, I mean, because he literally is of the machine, being an android, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's his character is more an instantiation of humanity than the other characters in the tower, and it's actually pretty poignant that they make that, right?
Right.
And so that humanity, that that leveling that kind of Goku's missing with his heroic spirit, is able to be combined with Ha-chan, and they're able to solve the mystery. But
Mm-hmm.
in this episode, it's called the Buyon escape. No, what is it called?
I think it's horrifying
Oh, here
Buyon.
we go. Here we go. What now, Goku? The horrible Buyon.
Horrible or horrifying Buyon.
Right. And so I think at that point we can go ahead and continue as Goku and Ha-chan continue up the tower. Oh, wait, no. They get up to the top of the tower.
Yes.
Yes. So they get up to the top of the tower, and they say to General White, hand over village chief. And so General White has a trap door, naturally,
Mm-hmm.
and he sends them down to the depths. Now, specifically, I don't recall if we talked about that trap door.
Um, the fact that he drops them whenever they come in and sort of, I guess, engage him in the way that he wants them to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we talked about it symbolically or anything.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the first thing that happens here, so I think we can go ahead and address it. So, they fall down this trapdoor. Now, trapdoors themselves, right? I mean, what are doors? They lead you to places, right? They can reveal things. They can hold behind them secrets, treasures, all kinds of things, right? In this
Mm-hmm.
case, I think that secrets is what we're going for, because Buyon is hidden away for a reason. and we're going to get into that as we see his design, what he does, how he is able to kind of withstand Goku. All those things are going to lead, well, all those things I'll use as evidence to buttress my analysis here, but I think you'll agree with me.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm excited because I kind of think I have it put together, but not quite. So I'm excited to hear it.
Okay. Well, and that's what that trapdoor is. It's the the depths
Mm-hmm.
of General White's psyche, right? They have to get
Right.
up to the top first to go down into it.
Well, it's sort of his own making, right? It's like he has to drop them down into this space. They have to be from the pinnacle of the tower, right? And
Right, they have to first get up there to be able to encounter this,
mm-hmm.
and we'll get into what this is in just a second.
Yeah.
And so then after they drop down in there, there are a couple of important things happen. First of all, Ader asks Goku why he's looking for the Dragon Balls. And Goku tells him that it's a memento from his grandfather, all that. Ader also lands on Goku, who kind of struggles to get up. It's just a little gag, though.
He's like, "Oh my god, are you dead?"
But it is to say that Android 8 is a solid fellow.
Yeah,
It's his strength has been hinted to.
I would say he's got a very high fortitude.
Yes. And so he asks Goku about that. Goku says it's a memento, and that's all well and good. It's not any malevolent reason. And so Hachan is actually very relieved by that because he's only known people around him to uh, want it for unholy means, let's say.
Well, he even doubts Goku. He says, "Goku, please tell me you're not doing it for a bad reason too, right?"
And and this is actually interesting too that this is like a sequestered away place, and Hachan was also in a sequestered away place, right? In the chamber, let's say. And actually, I think Brock, you mentioned earlier that it would make more sense if the villager, Sano's father, was referencing Buyon when he talked about the monster.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's sort of like
I'd
the
say that would have
spirit of the monster,
definitely,
right?
yeah. And so he closes off that access back up, closes the trap door, and they are trapped down here. So then revealed is Buyon. Here he is with his gluttonous, blob, blobous, bulbous form.
He's so strange. I had forgotten about his design. He's like Doria's sort of weird pink spiky skin on top of like a blobby Majin Buu mixed with some kind of dinosaur-esque design, but with antenna.
Well, it's really the monster of General White's nightmares, right? It's his design. Buyon is whatever General White wants it to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this instance. And so Buyon here is a pink blob monster, and specifically because and I think this is also reflective of what we've seen from General White, right? His soldiers do not give up. Major Metallotron did not give up, right? Even Murasaki did not give up.
Mm-hmm.
Fought to the end, let's say, right? And so what is his instantiation of the toughest monster is one that cannot be defeated, right? One that won't give up, won't stop, can't be stopped.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hidden away because this is that conscious shamefulness, this mode of being, the gluttonous, um what do I want to say, gluttonous, simple, even putrid or grotesque form, right, is something that General White knows is shameful, and so he's hidden it away.
Mm-hmm.
And
The
so
endlessly consuming, right?
yeah, exactly, endlessly consuming. and like bulbous and gluttonous, right?
Mhm.
All of that is involved in, and all of that General White knows those things are bad, and so he's put that away, and he's kind of distilled that into this monster. And so I suppose we should also mention the gluttony. So we've been saying, or at least I've been saying, that this tower in General White is an instantiation of thuggery, right? Despotism,
Mhm.
rule by strength. And so here, what we see is that dark side of it, right?
This
Which
is like
is,
the spoils of it, right?
yeah, yeah,
Feasting upon the bones and hiding
precisely
away in shame and
what we do in the shadows, let's
yeah,
say.
exactly.
And so that's exactly what Buyon is here. He's
So
that,
he's kind of facing the shadow of thuggery here, the
yes,
beast
the beast
inside
of
of it.
thuggery,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. And so Goku's actually up against a pretty formidable challenge here. He doesn't actually realize it yet. He's pretty confident still. And so that's what we see. And the next thing is a cutaway to Sano and these rats. Uh, I'll let Brock take this one.
Well, I wasn't sure why we should get it, but at the same time that we see this big, disgusting pink manifestation uh, that Goku has encountered, we see this pink manifestation get encountered by Sano underneath the bed, right? In the shadows.
Well, I would say hers is not in the shadows. She has the lights on and all that, right? She's
Hmm.
facing the monster with full awareness and
Right.
consciousness.
Right. I'm just saying that it was down in the shadows, right?
But
Under the
right, it
bed.
is an instantiation of her. It's a reflection of Buyon. That's Buyon right there, the little pink rat.
But what. So we had talked about sort of what Goku's doing is putting the masculine and the feminine back in the right place and getting it more balanced out, right? And it's this cute scene, but it does make me think about that where it's like she's overly
It's an oversimplified form of what's happening. I know what you're saying.
she's overly protective, right? Like she should not feel protective of rats.
Oh, that yeah, that's for sure.
And so we're seeing
Oh, I think I see where you're going. Go
how
ahead.
how overly maternal and uh almost like uh toxically feminine. We had
Oh,
said the overly
really?
agreeable nature had manifested, right, where they were like, "Oh, don't challenge anything. Don't just please stay safe, stay safe." And I think that that's kind of similar to this in that sense.
What I mean, I think that would be more spelled out, like if she kept the rat or something. Definitely. It's I didn't think about that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I just hadn't thought
It's
about it.
just it's top of the head, but it kind of seems that way. I'm trying to figure out what position that this little rat should have in the story since it's seems to be a parallel tied in some way
Well,
to the
it
pink
is.
thing down in the shadows. It's just like,
It's that same, let's say, because and you see also knows stuff down there. The things that are, let's say, instances of her imagination, right down below her bed, right,
mm-hmm,
and that you can think of that like the bed obviously is that top floor, and down underneath is the fifth floor with Buyon. It's that
mm-hmm,
same psyche, that surface. What is it?
mm.
Surface and the below consciousness is it's like that. And so below Sano, she's revealing what Buyon is before we actually see what Buyon
I'm on
is.
the same page now. Yeah, where it's showing Bouillon's just the mice under the bed, right?
Yeah.
It just has to be
The
exposed,
shadow, when
right?
revealed with light, right, is
Mm-hmm.
revealed to just be a
Right,
shadow.
and we've identified it as being a shadow of
We have,
this
yes. So we've
manifestation.
already established that context.
So there we go.
That's where I so that's what I was saying earlier. Where I was like, I'm excited to talk about Buyon. I think he's actually better than a lot of people give him credit for because
Yeah,
People often
that's
don't
pretty great.
remember him or his design or anything like that. And that's why also I thought you knew that when you were like, you better get the rats. And I was like, oh, I don't want to get the rats because I don't like rats.
No, I didn't know that.
Let me, for the record, say that right now. Me, your host on the left, Owl, hates rats.
Me hates rats.
Me
Quote
hates
Al.
rats. Me hates rats. I, your host on the left, Owl, hate rats. They're not. They're nasty.
No,
Anyways,
they're not actually little cuddly things.
yeah, this thing would have bit her and given
Yeah.
her like I don't know.
An infection or rabies.
Yeah, rabies, definitely rabies. Foaming at the mouth rabies. All right, let's go on. So then we go back to Buyon. Here he is, the mouse under the bed that Goku cannot defeat. And I will say it's not a direct translation because obviously that mouse, right, is not the same as the instantiation of the shadow of thuggery. There's still some surprises that this creature has for Goku, um, before all is revealed, I guess.
hmm
But what happens is Goku tries to go in for punches and kicks, but they just bounces off of them. Why might he bounce off of them, Brock?
He is. He doesn't care at all about what Goku's mode of being has to say about what he is. He is pure. How do I say? He's a pure manifestation of these negative aspects. Yeah, like he
He's
has
like a
no
pure
shame.
spirit, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
he's purely bad.
Yes, he's all those things. And it's actually interesting the duality between him and 8 because 8 is really all of those.
Purely good.
Yes.
This is basically it's just Majin Buu,
Better though.
but
Better,
better though.
but better, which is oftentimes what happens. But anyways,
It's not so on the nose in this instantiation.
and so then Buyon shocks Goku, I would say, with that knowledge that there are people who will not be judged, right? There are modes of being that will not participate in the normal rules of the hierarchy, right? And so it shocks Goku to learn this because he hasn't encountered anyone like
Well,
that.
this is what's underneath the mode of being that you have to manifest if you're going to be like General White.
Right. This is what the mode of being is that voracious monster, gluttonous monster that's consumed by multiple vices, right?
hmm
And so yeah, Goku is a little shocked. He actually literally is shocked, and that's where we get to the next scene here. Slam, and he tries to shock him again. Okay, so yeah, he shocks him and then he eats him, right?
Right.
And that's obviously symbolic in the way that it's not only is this an enlightening experience for Goku interacting with a spirit that won't be judged by his spirit, but also the attempted consummation of the heroic spirit by this dark spirit of thuggery, let's say.
It's to say that he manifests himself as almost a Leviathan style spirit. Like I'm going to consume you because of uh how much
How big, yeah. It is part of the girth.
how much I represent, right? How much of a meme I am.
Sure, how powerful my spirit is amongst humanity, let's
hmm
say. And this is a powerful spirit. People bully each other all the time, right? And you could think of it that way as well, like a bullying spirit,
hmm
right? That I mean, trying to take people's lunch money, just to take the classic example, right? That's just that greed, that voracious and that sadistic desire to hurt as well. So those are all
To gain
things.
more power, right?
Yeah, those are all things involved here with Buyon, and he tries to swallow Goku, but Goku is able to keep his maw open and
hmm
jump out.
And that's, going through that obviously translates to now you can't do that to me again because that's an enlightening process for Goku to be
Yes.
put into the, to try to be swallowed by this, you know, whale chaos manifestation, and then to then get spit back out, right?
Yes. And so Goku is able to get out of there and dodge the next set of lightning attacks because he is now aware of the game. So he tries to use the Kamehameha wave, but even that fails, which is very interesting. So confronting this creature with magical words, why can't Goku create order out of chaos here?
Because this mode of being rejects order out of hand, rejects that attempt. So, regardless of what you could say to someone who is motivated this way, they're not going to take your words to mean anything, right? So, speaking truth to this person, telling them, let's say, hypothetically, this is a person, speaking truth to them about their mode of being and telling them baldly exactly, the truth of how they're being, or the truth of what they need to know about how they're wrong in their mode of being. Uh,
I think I see
they
what you're
don't
saying.
give, they don't care at all, right?
I think I see what you're saying, but I think maybe a better way to say it is that Buyon is living out his true spirit right now. There's no truth to be revealed. This is a spirit that exists in the world, and Goku cannot destroy it just by naming it. There's more to it than that.
Hmm.
And so that divine power of the Kamehameha wave just bounces off because this is already named, right?
So the revelation doesn't happen,
Yes.
right?
And so then the explosion doesn't happen as a result.
Hmm.
And so Goku's not able to use that. And at last he resorts to ramming with everything he's got. If only his body weren't so soft and flabby. I think that's a good way of putting it. And it's almost like I kind of think of it as he's almost incorporeal. Like he's not, but I mean, obviously he's corporeal, but his physical manifestation is not the part of him which you can combat.
Yeah, you can't grasp him, right? He's sort of I think intangible is a good way of putting it, right?
Right, yeah, yeah. And so Goku here, Ader's about to get eaten. Goku saves him. General White offers them salvation if they'll just hand over the radar. Give me
Just
your
give
pad.
everything up,
Yeah. Give
and I'll let you just get out of here.
And Goku says men can't give up.
Yep,
I think that's a good thing for Goku to say. A
men
very
can't give up
moralizing thing to say, especially in this
in the
context.
presence of Ader.
And also because this is Goku's first real challenge. I mean, he blasted away Metallatron.
Mm-hmm.
Murasaki was a joke.
Total joke.
Silver was a joke. That whole arc was a joke. This is the first thing that's like, wow, what's Goku gonna do?
It's like, wow, this thing is very powerful.
And it is. It's like that pure instantiation, like we were saying. And so Goku finds out the only way to do it, and it's actually it's funny because this is the same way that kids destroy the monsters under their bed. And what he does is he blasts a hole in the wall and lets in the natural air, the natural light, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of that, and freezes Buyon.
Well, he pops the bubble, right? It's like Buyon is an entity that can only exist in a vacuum.
Exactly. Well, he can only exist in the shadows as well,
Mm-hmm.
or else he's a little pink rat.
Right, that vacuum, the shadows, that sort of he's uh the context of him existing is that he's not interacted with by something exterior to himself,
Yeah.
And he's sort of this, spirit in here, a negative spirit.
And the spirit is dissipated from this natural force being let in.
Hmm. And so he becomes corporeal by being exposed to
The real world.
reality.
Yes. And so as reality, he doesn't stand. His form
He
cannot stand. He
crumbles.
crumbles. Yeah. And so that is Buyon. And let's say the shadow, the most vicious monster in Shadow that White can conceive of is not able to hold its muster in the real world.
Well, it's kind of to say that that beast that grows from the things in your shadow that you don't integrate, those negative traits
Well, to be
can be
specific, the thuggery, the dark
mhm,
side of the even darker side of thuggery, because even thuggery and bullying are yeah.
right. That thing can become tactile whenever you air it out, whenever you actually expose it to reality,
And
whenever you
purity as well,
look at
because
it
it's the
and
snow,
shine a
right?
light on it and deal with it. It can be redeemed. You know, there's a it you can basically that negative manifestation can crumble, right? You can make it something that you can approach, right? So it's kind of symbolic of that.
And it's also interesting. It's pretty brilliant writing that it's serendipitous with how Goku arrived is how Goku defeats his one of his greatest challenges here, right? Is that he realized that he froze as well from
Mhm.
the encountering with the molding of the mines, right, and the snow that we talked about in an earlier episode. And here, that malleability, the purity of the snow, contribute also to the solidification of the spirit. And now he can be harmed because he's pinned down with all of the existing context in the world and the purity of thought that Goku is able to
Right.
enact.
And snow, water, consciousness, so it's sort of like bringing to light, becoming conscious of everything that is going on just because you're not here in the shadows anymore, right?
Right, and one last thing I would want to say is that entity is a Buyon, the one that consumes and is impervious, right? All those things. It's a very it's there's a lot of energy that goes into that, right? And so he has to be big, like we were talking about with Leviathan spirit, and so then he's more susceptible here to the cold.
Mhm.
And so he cracks, crumbles, and Goku has now defeated Buyon along with Ader. I mean, he didn't defeat Ader. Goku and Ader defeated Buyon,
Yes.
and now they're gonna go back up to the last floor.
Now I love the way that Goku does this immediately after he's realized that he's defeated him. He's like, "All right, next." Jumps and smashes through the floor and lands there. He's like, "All right, I'm ready to go." He knows that he can transcend this hierarchy. He's
Yeah,
done.
easily. And also, I mean, he wants to get out of the
And he's like,
cold.
"This isn't my first time going up from floor to floor. This just works. Like, let's just go."
And so there he goes, and he gets Ader along using the Noibo, right? And again, Ader is kind of almost a Jiminy Cricket esque spirit for General White. He actually consistently tells White to do the right thing. He also tells Goku to do the right thing, right?
Mhm.
All these kinds of things. And so while Goku is trying to rescue Ader, uh, White pulls out a gun and just starts shooting him.
It's just a
And it
pistol, like
has
a
no
six
it has
shooter.
no effect. No effect on Goku. He says that hurts. And that's it. So we realize, and this may come up in a future episode, but we realize that an unpowered gun is not enough to stop Goku. And that kind of brings us to the end. Anything else we got to say? Because next episode, we'll see him square off with White once and for all. And we'll see the fall of Muscle Tower.
I do want to point out right there. He tells White, "I'm going to make you hurt twice as much," while he's pulling him back up, which is kind of an aggressive line coming from Goku.
Oh, well, and that's the thing. Goku, I would argue, does not have a flat character arc. He goes through fluctuations in his character, and he does have a darker side, especially here in these first couple of seasons of Dragon Ball. Actually, I'd say the middle seasons of Dragon Ball, where he's really exposed to vicious and reprehensible adversarial spirits. But we'll get into that later.
It's especially evident in the sub, right? I think that if you haven't seen the sub, it's a lot less evident watching it that it's that's happening with Goku's character, right?
I mean, we're even going to see it more next episode.
Oh yeah.
We're even going to talk about it. So, next episode is huge. So please join us. That would be on Sunday. But I think that brings us neatly to the end. Anything you want to say in conclusion about Buyon, the shadow of thuggery?
No, I think that it's just it ties up neatly. He goes down into the belly of the beast, he defeats the shadow, and then bursts back up to challenge the crown, right?
The last piece,
Mm-hmm.
General White. All right. Well, if you liked what you heard, please give us a like and subscribe. We do release episodes on Sunday and Tuesday for YouTube, and Monday and Wednesday for Rumble. Soon enough, we should have Thursday, Saturday for BitChute, and that'll cover all our bases. I'm your host on the left, Owl.
I'm your host on the right, Brock.
We hope you guys have a good night.